Hey folks, so I have a fun little DIY today because I got this Adobe vintage house that I absolutely adore. I love clay stuff, I love terracotta, but I wanted to turn this into like a little night light and have a little night light plant diorama. I found this and I noticed it had a little hole in the back right there that you could see. And I got this cord with this little light. Hopefully when I plug it in, it will actually work. Otherwise I might need to get a new bulb. But basically I would insert that into here, more or less, and then have it light up. And I thought this would be a really wonderful little diorama to have like on a nightstand or somewhere in a bedroom. In fact, we are renovating the roost or the common house, and we're going to be renovating a bedroom in there. And we're going to go with like all these terracotta colors and textures. So I figured this would actually be perfect. We're not really there yet. I'm actually making this way before than I need to, but I figured, you know, let's get it started. I could at least like have it here. And initially I got some beautiful planter pots for it. And initially I thought of this one, which I absolutely love. It's a bonsai pot and it looks like lava, and I measured it and it totally fits this. But then I realized I'm not going to be able to fit like many plants in here. So as much as I would have liked to use this, I think I'm going to have to use this for something else. So I might actually have to put that aside. So I got this much larger and much deeper red clay pot. And you could see that there's some orange color in there as well. And masterful hole on the bottom here. So typically I would cover the hole with some of the grates. These are quite small for what I need. So, you know, I would do this so that the soil doesn't kind of seep out. But I need probably like 4 of these to cover this big hole. So I have a plate underneath here so that some of the soil doesn't really fall through. But what I'm going to use today, and what I actually have, is a series of potting mediums, some of them more mineral-based, some of them are more organic-based. And I have the Espoma bonsai mix, which has this like clay, puffed clay and shale. So I think that's a really beautiful color because I think it matches some of the color here of this red clay pot. And I can't for the life of me remember who did both of these pots. It's 2 different people, so I'll put that up on the screen as well. So then I have the cactus mix right here, and typically this is the one that has more of an organic base. And what I mean by that is like it's not an inorganic material, it's an organic medium. And what I like about that is that it actually holds onto water. So I don't like to have something that's truly mineral inorganic based because the water just seeps right through. So having something within your mix that has an organic medium is better at holding water while still releasing it. Now this is perlite, so I've talked about perlite and vermiculite in the past. I'll link to that video here. But you could see that this is like a puffed stone as well. So in the same way that they make the bonsai mix, that's like a puffed shale and puffed clay, you're also puffing this. And then here's what I have is just this sandstone. So this is a bit heavier. And you know, if you kind of grate this up, then it would feel a little bit more like sand. But I just thought that was a really beautiful kind of ochreous color. So what I'm going to do is probably blend just about everything there except the sandstone. I'm going to leave that to the end, and that might be a little bit more of a topper. But I have this mix here that I already pre-mixed. I'll need to mix a bit more of it. I'd say that it's primarily the bonsai mix, but I probably have about 1/3 of the cactus mix here and about a little of the perlite as well. So that's really what I'm working with. And then you'll see that I have these plants. Now some of these I actually went to Tula Shop in Brooklyn and bought some of those plants. So you see the ones with the red tags in. This is a Pachypodium. And I wanted something that was, this is really not the plant that I wanted, but it's the one that they had. And Tula Shop is really good at sourcing some really interesting succulents. But I wanted something that was quite large, that was like a bit more tree-like. I went with the Pachypodium. I might actually change it out because sometimes I'd like a weird euphorbia that might, you know, kind of curve up and out. You'll see that I have this euphorbia, which I may not be able to use today because you could see it has this kind of strange growth structure. It's a little dry, and so I should have watered it a little bit more, but you know, traveling between Brooklyn and central upstate New York, sometimes my plants don't get all the watering that they need, but this is one that I got from my friend. I've taken a number of cuttings off of this. Alex, thank you. I still have your euphorbia. I think this plant would actually look better in a very low bonsai pot like this that is allowed to hang over, and maybe even a smaller pot than this. You could see actually this is the same euphorbia. It's a cutting of this one. So I took that cutting and rooted in here. So this is something that I could potentially use in here because it's quite small. This is my Hoodia, which, I mean, I think I've highlighted this from my 365 days of plants. And I'll say I don't even know if this has grown any, but it is a tank. I mean, it just kind of exists and looks good. So I brought that in because I don't want anything growing too big too fast. It's going to ruin the diorama. It's going to overtake the nightlight. This one is a Myrtillo cactus. It's crested. It's not the one initially that I really wanted, I was going to go for, but the one I wanted was a little bit too expensive for this whole project. So I went with the cheaper version, the smaller version. But I like crested, I like monstrose succulents and cacti, so I figured, you know, let's go for it. And then I have this one. This is the agave periri, and I think this one is a more hardy agave, but I wanted one agave in here because I think it actually looks kind of cool with that kind of bluish glaucous hue with one of these. And of course, like, the sizes are all over the place, but I got these small clay pots I thought were really cool. These are probably a bit more sized appropriately, but I think I picked these up when I was in Thailand. And actually they always have such cute little pots. And then you could see over here, I have these little burrows and I have these little ladders and put up on the adobe house, some little chickens, and I have these beautiful hand-carved kachinas, are some of the spirits, the protectors of nature and of life. So I thought, wow, this would be kind of neat just to do that kind of diorama. Let's begin because I need a bunch of these because this hole is quite large and we've determined that we are going to be using this bowl as opposed to this bowl. So you can see how this one would fit in and it gives me a little bit more room. Now, one thing I should say is that if you're making this, there is electricity that's coming into here. So you got to be careful you're not like watering the electrical cord or anything like that. You have to be mindful of this. What I'm going to do is just start putting this in. If you have a little watering container, you could probably water this so sometimes the perlite could get a little dusty. Now, one thing I should say about this is that it's a pretty deep bowl and I have these small plants. You know, this would probably be totally fine because it needs a little bit more of a deeper bowl in order to go down there. But if you have tiny plants, you could probably rot the roots because you could overwater this very easily because there's a lot of soil. So, you know, working with a planter pot maybe half this size could be a good way to go. It was very hard for me to find the perfect pot or planter for this project. So probably just pour this all in. So I'm gonna lift it up somewhat like this, but I also wanna make holes where I'm going to have some of the plants. And I don't know what plants I'm gonna use yet. I have like somewhat of an idea, but I don't wanna overdo it. I was actually thinking of doing like little lithops, like that would be the stones, but I didn't go that route either. So there's lots of things that you could do. I might actually switch out. It's common for me to actually like switch out plants where I'm like, I kind of want to change out the tree. Like I said with the pachypodium, I'm like, I might change that tree out. I'll use the rest of this bonsai mix and the perlite. And again, this is really dusty. So normally I would say step away as you're kind of doing this. And again, you want to have a nice mix between the organic medium and the inorganic materials. so you have some good drainage, but also something that holds on to the water. So one of the things that I might even do is maybe eventually get like a plastic grate, like a few more of these, and just put this under the terracotta, because this will actually wick up water as well. So you want to be careful where you're watering this and where you're actually putting it. So you can make any kind of diorama. It doesn't have to be with like a terracotta adobe thing. This is just something that I found and that I was interested in. So one of the things I knew that I wanted to do is actually have some height. So, you know, where can I actually put this tree? I could even put it in the front or maybe in the back. So I have to kind of decide on that. It's a little challenging for me to kind of build this looking at it from the back, because this is probably going to be facing the wall. So I have to be kind of mindful. I might actually turn it around a little bit just to see. I think I might actually put it in the front. This would be kind of cool too. Oh, that looks really neat. So I'm going to wear my gloves because some of these will have spines on them, and at least will give my hands some protection. Doesn't have much of a root system here, so I'm going to have to bury it a little bit more. It's always good to check the roots of your plants. Once you water this in, the plants will probably stick and get all the oxygen down to their roots, and then kind of compress the soil a little bit, and then the plants will stick into the ground a bit more and hopefully root a little bit easier. So that's one. See that? It's kind of growing in the front of it. Looks kind of cool, you know? I like this because you're looking at like a little landscape. It's like you're creating like a little mini landscape. It's not quite a fairy garden, I would say, but it's fairy garden-esque. And then I'm wondering, pachypodium or no pachypodium? I think I'll probably do the pachypodium. It's almost like doing a container garden, and you want to see something that grows up, want to see something that kind of comes over and it kind of fills the space, and you want to see something that like more kind of mid-ground. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And when you turn the light on, you're going to see the light kind of coming through the trees, which is pretty neat. I think it's going to be easier doing it this way, because if the plants are in the foreground, then I'm kind of watering more up here versus like I'm watering where the electricity is. I think that's probably, you know, a good move. So I think it's also nice if I plant my hoodia in here. I'm thinking, because I have like a sharp thorned plant over here, and the hoodia is also sharply thorned, maybe having it in opposite ends. And even though agave has thorns on it, it's not all over the body, and it has a bit more of a glaucous shape, so glaucous hue, so I'm gonna actually plant that over there. So it'll be kind of, if it was like this, it'd have too many spikes on one side, you see what I mean? And I brought these euphorbias in thinking I would use them, but I don't even know if I'm gonna use them in this one. Okay, let's get my hoodia out. Woo. Now that is well rooted, actually. So you can see that's a nice root structure. He was just sitting in my southern window in my bedroom. My little hoodia tag down there. So let me get some of his roots down there very nicely. Cool. Okay. Beautiful. It doesn't have that deep of a root system, but we'll just kind of put that right in here. It's totally fine. So here we go. Need a little brush to kind of brush off the dust and the dirt. All right, so what's that look like? Okay, that looks pretty cool. This is where I think it could be kind of fun. I should probably get like a little lithops and like plant it in here, but you could actually like, you know, bring some of these cuttings that you might have, like a little kalanchoe pup or something, and you put them in these little planter pots here. like that. But before I do that, I want to actually top this off. So I'm going to use some of this bonsai mix here, and just so it kind of has a bit of more of a grittier mix on the top so the water doesn't sit there. And then I'm also going to strewn some of that sandstone in as well. All right, now I'm going to use some of this sandstone here. Just kind of waft it in. Cool. Now is the time to actually get this situated. There you go. So you see these little, and you could get these like on little fairy garden things. I mean, people sell these things. But, you know, they'd have like little ladders to get up to the next level. I just think that's so cool. So do something like that. And then maybe another one up here. Yeah, that's pretty neat. And then I thought, like, what if we have these little spirits just kind of around, about and around. And I think what I'd want to do with those clay pots is, like I said, just get like a little small plant, like a little kalanchoe pup or whatever, and plant them in there. But I think this is actually looking kind of cool. And so let's see if this actually works. I want to see if this plugs in. I don't know if this is going to reach. Let me just plug it in first and see if it actually lights up. I probably should have tested that earlier. Oh, it totally does. Okay, great. I need to turn all the lights off. Yeah. Okay, so imagine this, but you wouldn't be pulling the cord. The cord would be, you'd be able to put it in right behind, but that's what it would look like. It would just be lit up like that, which I think is so adorable. If I could plant a little bit more plants around this, I think this would look like super dope, and just put some plants coming out of this one as well. So to be continued, but you could see the execution is actually coming together. All right, see you in the next episode. There's more exciting tips, tours, DIYs, and excursions here at Plant One On Me. In the meantime, check out what we're building at our sister channel, Flock Finger Lakes, and visit homesteadbrooklyn.com for our latest houseplant care sheets and courses. See you in the next video.